Hi, Jane Harling here, convertingproperty.com. No longer winwinproperty.com, still in ethics, but now we've changed in name because converting property is actually what we do all of the time, and it's what we teach as well. So earlier on this week we've been talking about the other kind of costs that you can incur, how everybody's always very mindful of getting their build costs right, but they forget about these other costs. And we discussed, as well as you being able to get a copy of our whole cost spreadsheet by emailing us or messaging us, which is still available for you to do. One of the biggest killers of deals we find out there is the finance costs. Sometimes it's because people haven't added in all the various components which we went through the other day, and you can catch on our YouTube video, which is full of actually loads of useful tips and so on. However, if you've got this finance cost there, there's lots of ways that you can mitigate it, and one of the best and effective ways that we use always is right at the outset to try and negotiate favourable terms with the vendor. Because if you can manage not to actually buy the property until you're halfway through the completion, the works, or even at the end of the works, or maybe not complete until you've got all the planning through or something, or maybe be allowed to gain access and start working before you complete. There's all these kind of things you can do which stops you having to pay the holding finance, because if you don't own the property at that stage, you don't have to pay the bridging finance and so on in order to complete it. But there is one important distinction here though, and that's that we see an awful lot of people negotiate weird and wonderful constructions, which is absolutely fantastic, where they're going to exchange and then they're going to get planning and then they're going to do all their development, and right at the end of it they're going to complete and then immediately sell or something, which is absolutely fantastic way to do it, don't get me wrong. But people often make the mistake, the misapprehension of thinking they're still going to be able to gain development finance for actually doing the work. And this isn't the case, because in a normal circumstance you will buy with bridging finance, you will get planning permission, and then you will turn the bridging finance into a development finance product. So if you need development finance in order to finance the costs of all your building works, that development finance company will still require a first charge on your property. Now, of course, if you haven't completed, you don't own that property, which means that you can't offer a first charge. So do be aware to make sure that you've got the necessary wherewithal, whether your own funds or working with a private individual, to be able to complete the build costs without needing development finance if you're not going to complete until the end of the works, because you won't qualify for it. So again, as we always say, it's looking at the global situation. Yes, you'll save on the development finance costs, but you may have to pay other costs which could maybe outweigh the benefits. But do take a look at this, because there are several ways that we particularly teach on our courses and our mentoring, absolutely loads on our mentoring about all the different ways that you can use terms to prevent you having to pay these bridging and development finance costs for quite so long a period as you might have had to, because in our experience, rather than the building costs, that's usually what kills most of the deals, because it can run into the hundreds of thousands on a project if it's big enough. So if you'd like to know more about this, catch up with what we do and so on, then Jane Harling, convertingproperty.com, get in touch, see how we can help you.